So, what'd you think of the boys on Saturday?
Uh, I was happy with the boys on Saturday. I thought they played with a lot more effort and energy. There's no question that the team that they were playing was really, really shitty. But a lot of times in games like that, they just kind of go through the motions and um, they stumble through and get 4 or 5 touchdowns, enough to cover, and just don't look good doing it. I thought they looked good doing it. I didn't think they looked great. There's still some issues with their offense. Uh, I thought they looked a lot better when they moved quickly rather than when they drug around like they did in the Texas game. But he's still. I say he. Our Heisman candidate is
Bryce, Mr. Young.
Mr. Young is still got some issues with getting
On the same page with his receivers.
there you go. What I was going to say.
I had the same outlook, but a completely different reaction.
Okay.
I would rather them play the really ugly, sloppy football when they're playing somebody like Utah State or not Texas.
Yeah.
And not say that Texas is so great right now, but they are one of the top teams and our stronger opponents. I wish they would just be a little bit more focused on those.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy to see that they were playing the same way they played against Utah State, but then Texas just kept coming back in the memory and going, well, wait a minute, why weren't y'all pumped up for Texas? They're wanting to join our family, and we really should, start it off spanking them.
It's hard to determine what 20-year-old kids are going to do and what they think. And there's all kinds of things that go through there. Texas was 5-7 last year.
Right.
So I'm sure we didn't take them as serious as we should have.
Well, especially after coming off of Utah State, because I thought we looked pretty flawless against them.
Yeah, that was about a perfect football game. We had one penalty. Everything we did was great. We were smooth. We moved the ball. We did everything, even things that were kind of disguised because we didn't do them. We didn't throw the ball deep down the field. We didn't run the ball up the middle and gain a lot of yardage running, but we didn't really need to,
Right. Stuck to basics.
I think the biggest issue with Texas was that I think we were overconfident to start with. We weren't paying real big attention to them because we didn't think they were legitimate, not good enough to beat us. And then I think we got into that atmosphere and we saw how that crowd was, that it kind of shook us a little bit and we lost our attention. We, started saying, well, wait a damn minute. And I really think that one of the things that hurt us in the Texas game was, we took the opening kickoff. We drove all the way down the field. We had a couple of bad plays. And then we kicked a fucking 52-yard field goal. And it was like, well, yeah, these guys aren't going to be anything. We can do anything we want to, and we're still going to get points. Then we stopped them, and then we busted a 92-yard off-tackle play for a touchdown.
Right.
And I really think that's where the air went out. I think that's at the point where we said, well, fuck, these guys can't beat us. And
we don't have to do this anymore.
That was the point where the mullet boy quarterback got hot and started moving. And we didn't have an answer for that. And we went into a stretch there where we didn't do anything offensively for several series. And I think a lot of that was play calling in the sense of, and I don't want to tell anybody how to call their plays, because I've never had an offensive coordinator tell me how to do my job, regardless of what my job was. So, I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I think that.
Well, I mean, right now you're only leaving out one aspect.
What's that?
Sarkisian.
Yeah, and I'll get to that, but I was getting to that. But at the same time, I think part of our game plan was to slow the game down. We knew they had a young, hot quarterback, and that Sarkisian was going to, try to
slow it down, take control.
And our plan was to slow the game down, get the crowd out of it, instead of lining up quick, sharp, quick over the middle throws and all that stuff. Drag it out. Go to the seconds. Because Alabama runs an offense where they don't huddle really. They line up, they look at the defense, and then 9 times out of 10 they back off and then go another 15 seconds until it gets down into the under 10 on the play clock.
Right.
Against Texas, and I think it really hurt them. So, and then you throw in the fact that Sarkisian knew pretty much what our whole entire DNA was, and felt, some of the things that I saw in the paper, and you can't always count that because you don't know what. How much of that is bullshit and how much of it is true. But when he told his team, don't be enamored with Alabama, be enamored with us. I thought that was a magical thing, for a good coach to say. And
a good leader.
When he was, before he came to Alabama with an alcohol problem, he was one of the great young coaches in the country.
Yeah.
He got in trouble at Southern Cal because of his drinking. He went up into the Pacific Northwest and was really good for a while, and then the drinking got the best of him. And he was unhireable, and Saban gave him a new life. Well, all that talent is still there.
He just had other issues that needed to be taken care of,
and it appears he's taken care of those. So there's no reason to not think that he's going to be and. We've been saying this all through the season so far. We don't know how good anybody is yet. I heard earlier this afternoon I was looking for something to watch on TV, and I settled on the best of the SEC this morning, which is 3 of those goobers that do SEC wrap-up stuff. I can't think of any of them's names, but And at one point, they happened to settle on Georgia, and they kept talking about what a magnificent team Georgia was and how they were the greatest team in the country right now, bar none, and nobody could beat them. And I thought, well, yeah, but look who they played. Arkansas had trouble with Bobby Petrino's directional school this weekend, and yet they manhandled South Carolina. So we don't know how good South Carolina is. And then the other things that Oregon was really, they weren't ready for SEC football when they came to Athens the first weekend of the year. And I think that
they may not have been ready for football.
Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. I think Georgia is every bit as good as Alabama is right now.
I do too.
I don't think. I think we have some questions that need to be answered, and I think they will be answered. But at the same time, I don't think Georgia's going to go floating through the Eastern Conference without any trouble, and not have. I mean, number one, it's always hard to repeat as a national championship.
Well, yeah,
points.
And Clemson found that out a few years ago when they beat us for the national champion.
Exactly. And
because they should have done it the next year. And well, that target is hard to carry around at every game.
Well, when you're the defending national champion, you get everybody's best effort.
Exactly.
And if you don't measure up to that, and if you get somebody hurt, and if you didn't, like I was watching, and I wouldn't want this to happen. I'd rather beat them with him. But if number 19 gets hurt for Georgia, they're in a lot of trouble. I mean, he's a superstar. He's a unicorn, as they call him these days. Where he's unique in what he can do, and we handled him pretty good in the SEC championship game last year. We didn't do so well in the national championship game, which I didn't expect us to win that after beating them in the SEC championship game. So,
Right.
But I think if you stop him, and I don't think Georgia's played anywhere close to a defense as good as what we should show them. And I don't think they have seen an offense that we're capable of doing. I think we got to get number 3 that came from Georgia in sync with Bryce Young, first of all. And then I think we got to get JoJo Earl back in the offense. I don't know what's wrong with him. I haven't heard anything other than he's not ready to play yet. But if we get him going and then get number 1 with I'm curious to see that if they get if JoJo Earl comes back as the slot receiver and they get number 1, whether they start running a 2-back offense. I can't help but believe with all the running backs we've got, number 1 is such a great receiver, the guy from Georgia Tech.
Right.
I mean, they can line up with 2 backs, and they can run running plays with either one of them, and then they can shoot number 1 in a wheel route against a linebacker. You think that's a fair test right there?
You're talking to your son and not the coaching staff, right?
I understand that, and I'm not going to talk to the coaching staff because they either already know something like that, or they know that would not work from some idiot sitting in South Carolina with his 3rd drink in his hand. So, I just see things, and I've seen things in the past that I thought, wow, if they do X, that ought to be really good.
Yeah.
With the running back, I mean, the 5th string running back we put out there was the best one of the bunch this past weekend.
Right.
But the 4th team kick returner was the best one. Again, JoJo Earl is our kick returner, and he hadn't fielded a punt yet. And we had 3 or 4 guys that are behind him, evidently, that were running punts back like motherfuckers. So, there's a lot of talent there, and there's a lot there. And one of the things that I like about all of this is, A, we're already hungry because Georgia beat us last year. 2, Georgia.
See, after the Texas game, I got to question that hunger.
Well, no.
And I know, and I'm not comparing Texas to Georgia. I'm not, that's apples and oranges as far as I'm concerned. But
look, you cannot make, I don't know if you can't remember back to when you're 20, but you can't keep somebody's attention focused for 11 straight weeks and say, oh, all you got to do is this week and don't worry about it. They can't do that. They get distracted. They things come up. Every game.
Yeah, but it's not my job to do that.
I understand.
But Coach Saban seems to be really good at doing that. And the first 3 games of this year, I can't remember another first 3 games that have been like this where it ended up good.
Well,
where the quote, quote, easy teams, we blow through, but then we start struggling through the names.
Well, we will find out week after next.
This weekend will help. I know it's Vandy.
Yeah.
It is conference.
Yeah.
It does matter. So, yeah, we'll see.
But next week, we travel to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Okay.
Now, I think we're significantly better than them. I think we have better speed than they do. I don't think we're as strong as they are. I don't think we can line up and just power through them. And they're not.
Them Arkansas boys are always big.
Yeah. They're not a great throwing team, but their quarterback is a big, strong guy that can run the ball a lot. So, if we're not paying attention, they can give us trouble. We'll find out against them, win or lose. We'll find out against them how many holes we really have, and we'll find out if we've grown up any from after the Texas game, and we're ready to go on the road and play. And traditionally, we had some trouble last year. I think I told you and Shane last week that if you think back, the Auburn game last year, we almost and by all measure should have got our ass beat in that game and found a way to win it. And we were 3 or 4 touchdowns better than those guys.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's Auburn.
I know that, and I know it's a bit.
I mean, you're pulling from a lot of different pools there. I mean, there's hatred, there's rivalry, there's end of the year. You can't lose another game.
I know it's the key focus of that game is always, do you go in there trying to not lose it, or do you go in there trying to win it? And
no, you got to go in to win it.
I know, but when the years that we go in, whether we go to Auburn or go to Tuscaloosa and we go to win, unless they're really good, like when the year of Cam Newton, and there were some fluky things in that game, except for that game, the ones that we've won, we went in there and just said, fuck this, we're going to beat these guys, and we beat their ass. The years that we stumbled around and had some trouble with them and ended up losing, the kick 6 year,
yeah,
we lost that game in the third quarter. Everybody talks about the kick 6, but in the third quarter, we had the football and the lead and had a 4th and 2 inches on about the 4th line and didn't make it. And we had a bunch of people at Auburn that were in the middle of gathering their stuff because they knew if we made that first down, they could go on and go home. And we didn't make it. All we had to do was gain 2 yards, and that game's over. And yet we end up trying to kick a long field goal. They run it all back, and it's another miracle victory. But if we get that fucking first down at that point, that game is over. And we had another 4th down later in that same game that would have probably saved everything. That we didn't get that one either. So, in those games, we got in there, we got scared. We thought, well, goddamn, we can't lose this game. And it was not about, fuck these guys, let's beat their ass. It was, oh, God, what if we lose to them? We can't have that happen. Nah. And I'm not being critical.
You always play to win.
Everybody gets in that mode from time to time. You see it all the time. And you see it at every level of football. And, there are times the shit, I'm sure you don't remember this, but I can't remember where these guys were. We played a softball team one time,